Hello, everybody, and welcome back to The Six Hockey, another podcast, an emergency podcast session. My name is Simon Hendricks. I'm joined by Sammy Brzezowski, as always. You know, we usually don't do emergency podcast sessions. Usually we plan them out in advance a fair bit, but we were at the Leafs game last night as they took on the Buffalo Sabres, and not a hard-fought 7-4 defeat on Daryl Sittler Appreciation Night. It was the 50-year anniversary of the fabled 10-point game, 6 goals, 4 assists. A mighty accomplishment, and this team put up 0 fights, and we are here to talk about this year's Toronto Maple Leafs team, where they're going to go from here with the trade deadline and offseason looming. I am excited to talk about it. I have a lot I want to get off my chest, but before we do anything, Sammy, how you doing?
I'm doing great. It was a fun night in terms of the game itself. As a fan, not too fun to watch the hockey, but it's always fun to go to a Leafs game because we like hockey. So it's nice to see Buffalo trying, and the Leafs, they put on their jerseys, I guess. It was cool to see Lanny McDonald, Tiger Williams, and Daryl Sittler. That was really cool.
That was very cool.
That was the one real positive of the game, I think. They didn't really give us much else to look at.
No, not at all. He got a really cool golden stick, which was very nice. Just a little behind the curtain. We were leaving together. My place is right next to Union Station, and they were obviously going to Union Station to Scotiabank Arena. Union Station. And both Sammy and producer/editor Anthony convinced me to come with them. I got a pretty cheap seat. I got to take it way back in the fan zone, row 18, literally the last row at Scotiabank Arena. And I was able to sit next to them all night because people aren't coming to games, and there was a couple open seats beside these guys. I was able to get in, didn't have to sit at my regular seats because this year, since the Matthews era, this is the lowest average attendance figures for Maple Leaf Scotiabank Arena, and I think it's pretty clear as to why. This team just does not put in a major effort, especially on home ice.
Well, it's also the worst record we've had at this point in the Matthews era, and there's also, I don't think MLSE really cares. This is totally off the point of the team itself, but I don't think MLSE really cares about filling the seats. They care about filling the money for the seats. The
sponsorships on the boards.
And we were looking at the prices. These are all resale tickets that we were looking at on Ticketmaster. $680 for a seat in our section. That's why Simon went to that fan zone ticket for what would you say?
I think it was $130 Canadian after taxes and fees, which is still a pretty penny for sure.
Pretty penny especially for how bad this team, but $680 for a 300 level seat, and that seat just went empty that night.
Yeah.
No one, obviously the person who was selling it probably didn't go to that game. Clearly an issue, because you think Scotiabank Arena, if they had affordable seats, regardless, this could be the worst team in the league. We could genuinely be in 32nd, or is it 33 now? Is it 32 still?
Teams?
Yeah.
Yeah, 32.
32. We could be 32nd in the league if lower bowl tickets were like $100, even like $150. It would be one of the loudest barns in the NHL. I remain by that because all these people who want to come to games are in the 300 sections. They go to maybe 1 or 2 a year, and the rest are all corporate suits or people who just genuinely don't care about the team.
Yeah, I mean, my dad, he has seats there. Him and a few of his work buddies, they split season tickets for work, so they take clients there or whatever. But I've been to a couple with him as well, and not so much on like Friday games, like Friday, Saturday games. They're usually pretty packed out, but I've been to a couple Monday night, Tuesday night games at Scotiabank this year. Man, it is empty. Even the lower bowl, where people call it the yacht club. First of all, there are basically I shouldn't say there are no jerseys there. There are jerseys there, but they're not nearly as much as if you head up to the 300s where the real fans are, if I can say that. But it is what it is. It's a problem. We can yell it from the rooftops all we want. Ticketmaster's not going to change that. MLSE's not going to change that until they get new ownership. Here's my kind of conspiracy theory with that, with all of this. I was actually listening to LFR, Steve Dangle. Shout out to him if you ever watch any of these. You're a really cool guy. Would love to have you on the show. But
it'd be weird if he did.
Yeah, it'd be awesome if he did.
It would be awesome.
It would be awesome. But anyway, he was, talking about, the Rogers acquisition of MLSE and how Ed Rogers is like, hey, let's put all of our money into baseball and the Blue Jays, which I love. And then everyone else, including the Raptors, TFC, the Maple Leafs, are like, we'll just figure that out later. And I feel like the Leafs are in the we'll figure it out later, even though everything is an issue right now.
Well, yeah, I mean, let's think about it, because I think if I'm ownership right now, I'm looking at on ice, on court, on field performance. I'm giving the money to the people who work the hardest. And the Blue Jays showed, I think that's a big reason why people were becoming such new fans and such hardcore fans of the Blue Jays this season. You can see they left it all out in the field. After the World Series, super emotional. All these players, you could see they're crying. They still have a tough time talk about it. You saw the effort put in by the players throughout that playoff run that couldn't be compared. You didn't really see many fans upset after losses because you could see there was effort. Whereas the Leafs, like we're going to get into, there's not consistent effort. There's not. We saw that Buffalo game. We have it in the docs about 40 times this year. Even in wins, I think it's the same game over and over again. It's try hard for a couple minutes, off the gas for 10, try hard, off the gas. And in the NHL, you can't just be playing 15 minutes a night.
Yeah, well, that's just the thing. I was actually at a bar with my buddy Cam. Shout out Cam Blackwood and Ethan Birmingham. We were at the Dublin Calling just on Adelaide there.
Oh, good bar.
Yeah,
good
great bar. For the Vegas game when Marner came back to Toronto last Thursday, I believe that was. Yeah, last Thursday or last Friday. And we had the synopsis where we are the best team in the league for 15 minutes a game.
Yeah.
For about maybe 10 to 15 minutes a game, we are seriously like the best team in the league, and we'll score 3 goals in 12 minutes. And then everything other than that, it is like the worst hockey team you have ever seen in your life.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I think down multiple goals with 5 minutes left to go in the hockey game, 2 or 3 goals, we are the best team that's ever played hockey.
Yeah.
And it seems like with this core, it's been every single year. If we're down 1 goal, we're garbage. We are maybe one of the worst teams consistently. If we are down 2 or 3 with 3 minutes left in the game, we are genuinely the hardest working team. And it goes to ask a question like, why can't we get that even 50% of the time during the game? And we don't. We at the game, I was getting into an increasingly bad mood because I saw maybe 3 players trying their hardest, and you could see putting in the effort consistently throughout the game. That was Austin Matthews. Actually, it might just be 1 player. Austin Matthews, Troy Stetcher, and sometimes Tavares, but Tavares is 105 years old, so I can't really blame him for not having the same levels of forecheck as someone who's 22.
Well, okay, that's a pretty good segue. Let's talk about this game very briefly. We were there. We watched the whole thing. We missed the Bobby McMahon goal because we were getting some pizza, but other than that, we watched the entire thing. Do we have any really quick thoughts more than just the general thing? Like you talked about only a couple players that you really noticed that gave an impact. Matthew was by far our best player last night, and it was not even close.
And it's very indicative of what this season has been. Mm-hmm. It's been, Matthews was clearly playing injured, or there was something in the mental game that wasn't sharp. But Matthews, the past 2 months, has been phenomenal. Mm-hmm. He's been Austin Matthews. But when you don't have the support system on the ice, like he's making guys like Michelli, like Domi, like McMahon look a lot better than they actually are. Like, we'll get into Domi in a bit, but Matthews was the only player I noticed. And what I realized during this game, maybe the worst ever hockey game I've seen from Nicholas Waugh. Every time he was on the ice, granted not that often, for a $3 million player to perform that bad, he looked lost every time he was out there. He looked like he did not know what to do every single time he got the puck. There was one play, I actually almost threw my quarter zip onto the ice from the 300 level section. There was a loose puck. He is the closest player to it by a mile, and he just watched it go by. And then after he saw a Buffalo player going into the corner to get the loose puck, the puck that was just sitting there, he staggers to go get it and had like a confused expression on his face like, oh, I didn't realize that was mine. If there's a loose puck and you're close to it, go get it.
Yeah, I think that play in particular has been my kind of problem with the Leafs team this year, is that the Leafs play a very reactionary game.
Mm-hmm.
And it's those 10 minutes where we look like the best team to ever play the game of hockey. That is when we are dictating the pace and dictating the puck. And everything else, we are just reacting to what the other team does.
And I understand if this is the system, but clearly we don't care about puck possession because we don't have the puck most of the game. We had a shots parlay that we set up last game because we realized if this game gets out of hand, which it has in a lot of these previous games this season, we want something to be actually rooting for because this team is not giving us something to root for. So we do a shot parlay. There's 3 Leafs players we need to get 2 shots each. It was Matthews, Nyes, and Tavares, and then 2 Buffalo players. The Sabres were done by mid-second period. The Leafs had 8 shots.
I thought it was before the mid-second period.
Yeah, maybe early.
I thought it was like
period.
right away.
It was early.
Yeah.
Tage was done before I think they dropped the puck,
Yeah.
and then Dahlin, FanDuel messed up. They were like, he only has 2 shots. He got 3 goals last night, which none of us really paid much attention to.
Yeah, because he got that empty netter. And there was one lone Buffalo hat on the ice as everyone was leaving.
Because there's 7 fans in that organization. And so...
And they were all there last night.
Yeah,
apparently in our section,
all
too.
there and loud and super aggravating. It's like, make the playoffs, Buffalo, you know? Anyway, going back to my point, we had like 8 shots midway through the second period, and that has been consistent this season. This season, we have been outshot more than any Leafs team I have seen. And in the Keefe era, say what you will, we got a lot of shots on net. We consistently outshot teams. We consistently didn't allow many shots. The Leafs allow the most shots per game in the NHL by a wide margin, by over 1.5 shots per game. That's a lot when it comes to averages. They're 10th fewest shots per game, so not the worst in that category, but still bottom 10 in the league for a team that has what's supposed to be high-level scoring. And you might ask, is there any other like decent teams that kind of have similar stats? There is. The Montreal Canadiens with 65 points this year have one of the lowest shots per game, but one of the highest shots allowed. But they score when they shoot. Our shot percentage is not that good. Our shot percentage is above average. The Habs are at like 1 or 2, I believe. If we're going to implement this system, we have to be finishing, and we're not finishing.
Yeah, I slightly disagree with that point. I think do you have the stats up for our shot percentage?
Our shot percentage it's top 10 in the league.
Yeah, okay. So I would say that's decent shot percentage. I know what you mean. It's not like the Habs or anything like that.
It's decent, but not decent enough to justify using this system.
No, that's very fair.
If you're going to utilize this system where you're only trying to generate these high leverage shots, you have to be able to convert on those chances, and we're not converting in the same way teams like Montreal or Dallas are. And I don't know if there's like an incentive in these guys' contracts. How many times did we see us shoot the puck directly at a Buffalo Sabres player last game?
I'm going to say there was a lot. And I think a lot of that has to do with the fact that they're on the bench. The Leafs are on the bench. They're looking up at the scoreboard, and they see, oh, my God, it's the start of the third period. We're playing at home for the 5th consecutive game. It's Daryl Sittler Appreciation Night, and we're getting outshot 28-13. Let's just fire everything. And Morgan Rielly, I think, took 3 shots from the blue line in a row that hit a Buffalo skate or shin pad that went right into the corner for a turnover.
So that second line, I mentioned that shot parlay because we were watching the shots very intently, yeah, because we didn't care about anything else. That second line of predominantly throughout the game, it was Michelli, Tavares, and Nyes. That second line had 4 shots. 4 or 5 shots, depending on which shot tracker you use. 4 or 5 shots for your second line. That's not going to cut it. Your second line should be flirting around the 10-shot mark.
Yeah, for sure.
For a team that's like supposed to be known for offense, because our defense are not that good. They're not. We were talking about it last night. We have one defender who is at a high trade value right now. We'll get into that later. And another one who just plays 1,000 minutes a night. Jake McCabe, We talked about it. He has not been as good this season. He's third in the league in block shots because he has to play 400 minutes a night, and we get 100,000 shots on us.
Yeah. No, I mean, Jake McCabe, I'm not too sure. I think he's dealing with something because he's been a bit of a shell of himself. I think we realized with Tanev out and Felipe Myers not playing very well that we needed him back, and so I think he may have been rushed back from that injury that he had earlier in this year, and so I think that's still kind of bothering him. We'll get into what we do around the trade deadline in just a little bit, but I want to talk about someone else who has become a big fan favorite recently, Matthew Knies. I love Matthew Knies. He's very quickly becoming one of my favorite players to watch, especially earlier this year. He was for sure. However, he's been pretty invisible the past couple weeks. He really has. He's not playing as physical, which also leads me to believe that he is playing through something. Either that or that's just bad coaching because he is, I think, 6'3", 6'4", and 225 pounds, and he's not using his body to win puck battles. That's insane. And, he had a quote yesterday in the post-game scrum. Let's take a listen to that really quickly.
Concern you that there's still enough runway to do that, to get in the playoffs?
Yeah, I think that there's still a lot of hockey left, and I think the standings are really close. I haven't really looked at it much, to be honest with you. That's how confident I am that we're going to get there. We just got to focus on each game, and ahead of us is four big games on the road. So that's the main focus. I think I'm not going to really look at the standings or the point totals at all. I think we're just going to try to focus on playing to our identity, playing our hockey, and trying to win games.
Haven't checked the standings? Are you you're in a playoff hunt? This is the first year in a while since Matthew Knies has been on the Leafs team that they have been in the playoff hunt. They've always had like a top 3 position. They're in the wild card hunt, and you're saying that, I'm not really focused on the standings. We just have a 4-game road trip. You lost 5 at home. Of a possible 10 points you could have gotten at home, you got 1. First time since 1985 that's happened, by the way. And you don't check the standings?
So here's my thing. There's 2 explanations to this. One, media answer. He has checked the standings, and they just don't care. Or 2, they don't care about the playoff race, so they don't care. Either way, that shows me that within the locker room, nobody cares right now. The only person that you can see actively is caring is Austin Matthews. And, he's your superstar. He should. But Matthews' goal last night, the energy and emotion in his face after that goal, I was like, wow, Matthews is playing great hockey right now.
Yeah.
He cares a lot. He wants to win these games. But you just don't see it from the rest of the team. And Knies is a guy that, when he came into that Florida series, the first one, he was our best player. And by kind of a long shot. That's why Sam Bennett injured him behind the net. He was our best player. He was the only one really making a difference for the Leafs. And I think you're right. He's either playing through something or it's a coaching decision not to play physical, which would be stupid because if you put Knies with Matthews, you have 2 guys who are 6'3", 6'4", whatever, and in the 200s in terms of pounds. That's one of the most lethal dynamic duos in the NHL if they can play big.
Oh, yeah, 100%. And again, I don't think that's coaching because we saw in that Florida series just how physical he was. We even saw that last year, right? When he put up nearly 60 points and a bunch of hits. He was one of our most effective forwards last year. And so I do think he's playing through something. That quote wasn't necessarily to single Knies out by any means. That was just to shed some light onto what we think that the mentality of this team is. And that is just that they don't care. I would also add Scott Laughton to that because he did not have a great game last game, even though I think he had the most ice time.
He was on every single time anything happened.
Yeah.
It was Scott Laughton.
Yeah, that's another interesting thing where you can maybe point to coaching a little bit is after, I think it was, of the 4 Maple Leaf goals, I think the first 3, before it was 5 minutes left in the third, Scott Laughton came on right after every single Leafs goal.
Which I don't understand because there was one line that was rolling. It was the first line. Max Domi had 3 points.
Mm-hmm.
That's a season high, I believe, for Max Domi, 3 points, which tells you something. And, if I'm a coach and I see one line rolling, if they scored a goal quick into their shift, they're going right back out there.
Oh, 100%.
If we get scored on, I'm putting line 1 or line 2 right back out there. Because that's what you're supposed to do in these situations, and Keefe used to do this all the time Babcock used to do this all the time. For some reason, it's a pattern with Leafs coaches to have a big moment and then throw your fourth line. It happens in the playoffs entirely too often. This is completely unrelated, but it does happen a lot where we have a huge moment. Matthews will score a maybe series-defining goal, and then we'll go, okay, Calle Yarncroke, get out there. No, Calle Yarncroke, sit down. You're not playing for the rest of the game. Put your top guys in those top situations. I don't know why we keep following it like that, and we were mad last night because we had the shots parlay. We didn't care about the game after a certain point.
After it became 6-3.
Why should we care if the players don't? Why is Scott Laughton getting that much time when he has like 11 points this year? It's more than that, but it's just not. It doesn't make sense to be running like nearly equal playing time from your first line and your fourth line, especially when the depth just isn't there right now.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. And hey, I love Scott Laughton. I would put him, if Austin Matthews is number one in the give a crap-o-meter, he is very close. Like, he is a close number two. He loves being a Toronto Maple Leaf. So I don't want to rag on Scott Laughton. That's, again, more of a coaching issue. And that kind of leads me to what I want to talk about next. Speaking of a coaching and a managerial standpoint, how hot is the hot seat of Brad Treliving and Craig Berube?
I would say Berube's seat's pretty hot. Mm-hmm. I think Treliving has built a pretty. If you put this team healthy and on paper, maybe it's not one of the best teams in the league, but it is a competitive team. On paper, This team should be performing better than it is. We haven't got fully. We like, people do forget, and I think we forget sometimes. Like, Nylander has played like half the season. Mm. He's only played like. He's played under 40 games, so it's not half, but he has missed a significant portion of the season. We missed him a lot in the last game. But at a certain point, when it's not getting done on paper, you look at the coach. At the same time, this is the third coach of this Leafs era. At what point is it just a fundamentally flawed team? I think we've been saying it's a flawed team. That's why Marner going out was not the worst thing, because we needed a shakeup. We can't just keep losing in the second round. But I think if you are going to put the pressure on the coaches and the management, if Berube is fired, I think we should also clean house.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know if I necessarily agree with the whole clean house thing, because I think that's a tough one.
Short of, I was thinking about this in the shower on the way here because we knew we were going to talk about it, but we didn't really compile much notes. Short of a conference finals appearance, I am rebuilding this team. It has been 9 years with this core and nothing really to show for it. We've won 2 playoff rounds in 9 years with supposedly, probably is, the best goal scorer in hockey, and elite offensive talent wrapped around him, solid goaltending, and at times a solid D-core, and it just hasn't worked. This team has not done what it set out to do, and the pressure is obviously a lot higher in Toronto than it is, say, Minnesota. But short of a conference finals appearance, like, what are we going to do? Just run it back with the same team and just keep doing the same thing over and over again? I would rather the chance to make this team a major contender and take a year off than just keep running second round loss, first round loss over and over again, because it's just not. It's not really doing anything, and it also makes the regular season much less watchable because we don't care.
Yeah.
There's been times where both you and I'm sure, have said, whatever. Like, it counts in the playoffs. It doesn't matter till the playoffs. I don't really care until the playoffs. And I think even the players adopted that until they realized we have 29 games left.
Yeah. Yeah, I completely agree with what you just said. Kind of like we were just talking about. This has been the first year with the Maple Leafs since, the first year of the Matthews, Marner, Nylander era that they've had to fight their way into a playoff spot pretty consistently throughout the year. Mm-hmm. And I think a lot of that is because they're like, well, we'll wait till it doesn't matter until playoffs. Kind of like how the fans and media talk about this team. It doesn't really matter to the playoffs. I'm sure they've adopted that. They hear it. They know it. They feel it. So if they have adopted that strategy and then they're saying that they haven't even checked the standings, really less than 30 games away from the playoffs, you know how good they have to be in contention? They have to win like 2 out of 3 games for the next 30 games to even have a sniff at a wild card.
To get 95 points, which is about like the Eastern like bar for making the playoffs, they need to go 29-0, like you said. To match the point production we got in 2021, 2022, so the Sheldon Keefe era, where everyone's saying blow it up,
yeah,
we would need to win out right now. It is not even February yet, and the Toronto Maple Leafs would need to win out to match the point total from that season. Obviously, we miss Marner. No one was saying that we wouldn't. No one smart was saying that we wouldn't miss Marner. He's one of the most elite playmakers in the league.
I don't think anybody realized how like pathetic and lifeless this team looks, though.
And it is pathetic. That was the exact word I was using last night. It is pathetic. In the 50-50 battles on the boards, I've said this on a podcast before, it was looking like 99-1 because almost every single time it would be a Sabres player in the corner, then a Leafs player kind of lackadaisically going towards him, and another Sabres player going to help. The transition, defense, and offense was just pathetic. They had no idea what they were doing on the zone entry. And it's Buffalo. It's not like if we lost this game, we're talking about this game a lot because we got a chance to watch the full game and see players off ball, off puck that we don't usually get to see. If it was a team like Colorado or even Vegas, where it's like, okay, yeah, but they're a Stanley Cup contender. It's Buffalo. They might not make the playoffs themselves. They are doing well this year, obviously, but it's Buffalo. No one thinks they're going to be a Stanley Cup contender. It's Buffalo.
Unless you're a Buffalo.
Yeah, unless you're one of the 13 people that cheer for that team. And it's just like embarrassing to see these guys. They're getting paid millions of dollars to play for what is undoubtedly the most followed franchise in hockey, the most valuable franchise in hockey, team with the most fans, the most eyes. I would argue it might mean the most to play for the Toronto Maple Leafs. It's Habs, Leafs, Bruins.
Yeah.
If you're talking about the franchise that has the most history to play for, and they just look like they do not care.
I think, okay, I was just going to say something. Let's table that conversation for a little bit because I do want to dive a bit more into the disconnect between the fans and the organization in a little bit. Let's focus on the trade deadline right now. It's at the end of February. It's about a month away. There are some expiring contracts on the team. Bobby McMahon, Scott Laughton, Troy Stetcher. They're all expiring contracts. You also have some guys on some shorter-term deals. Nick Robertson, he's also expiring. He's going to be an RFA. OEL, he's due up in a couple of years. Nick Waugh, same thing. There are a lot of players with short-term contracts on this team that you can trade. Who, if you are Brad Treliving this offseason, what is your order of operation, and who would you say you would want out of town as soon as possible, and who would you want to keep?
Okay. I first want to start this by saying we are obviously not buyers at the deadline. I will do 1,000 push-ups if the Toronto Maple Leafs make the playoffs. I don't think they're making the playoffs. I know they're not making the playoffs because this team does not have it in them. That being said, we absolutely have to be sellers at the deadline if we want this team to do anything within the next couple of years. Top on the list for me is probably OEL. OEL has been our best defensive player this year, borderline one of our better offensive players this year. Outside of OEL, we have, I think, under 10 defensive goals. Riley has like 6. I think McCabe has a few. Benoit has 0. Carlo has 0. They're obviously not offensive-minded players, but you need goals from your defenseman. You need offense from your defenseman in today's league, and we're only really getting it from OEL. OEL is in the top 5 on the team in points, has been all season. His trade value is higher now than it's been in quite some time.
Sorry to cut you off. I don't think his trade value will get any higher than it is right now either.
Unless he cures cancer as well. His trade value will not get higher. He should be the first to go. Let's get him for picks. I would trade him today if we could. I would trade him right now because his value is very high. There's no sense in keeping him on a team that's losing. And also, give him a chance at winning some hardware. Give him a chance at winning Cup. That brings me to my second player. I think it is now time to ask Morgan to waive his no-move clause and implore him to go try to find a way to win a Stanley Cup. Morgan Rielly, I think, is a player that deserves all the credit in the world. He has stuck around on a team that's been garbage, and he has absorbed so much hate over the years as the Leafs' #1 defenseman for over a decade. He has been absolutely pummeled with comments like he's a or whatever. And the thing is, yeah, Morgan Rielly is not the best defensive mind on this team. He's never been that good at defense, but he has been taking the most ice time on the team for almost a decade, and he has nothing really to show for it. You know, he never got, I think, the burst that he deserved. At one point, he was in a Norris conversation early in a season a couple years ago. Other than that, he doesn't have any hardware to his name, despite being a guy who's played a long time in the National Hockey League. If I'm him, I'm moving out west. I'm thinking Seattle. We talked about that earlier.
Yeah, we did.
Seattle, move out west. They're in a playoff spot. Vancouver's a dumpster fire. I don't think he'd want to go there unless he was just like, whatever, I'll play for where I'm from. He would be my second guy. Ask if the no move clause can be waived and move him. His value isn't as high as it once was, but move him. McMahon has 17
goals this year, which I did not realize that until the PA announcer told the arena that last night.
I did not realize that either. I'm going on a bit of a tangent here. I hope that's okay.
No, that's okay.
Bobby McMahon has 17 goals. I think he could be, and you said this almost word for word last night, a great asset for a contender, and he absolutely can be. He could be a third-line winger for a contender and be genuinely one of the best third-line wingers in the league. The fact that we have him on our first line tells you a lot more about this team. And put him with a guy who can facilitate the puck nicely. Bobby McMahon has a beautiful shot. He can be very effective. His value is pretty high now. I think maybe it has been higher, but I don't think it gets much higher on this team alone. That would be my first 3 moves to do. And then I think you think about moving a goaltender.
Yeah, I'm glad. You know what? I'm very glad you bring up the goaltender talk. Here's the point I want to bring up. Do you remember the bubble year?
Yes.
Do you remember who the UFA was that everyone was talking about in Toronto that year? And there was a whole shebang about if we were going to re-sign him, but it was too much money, and then should we trade him, and then we didn't?
Oh, yeah, I guess it was that long ago, Zach Hyman.
Zach Hyman wanted, I think he signed for what, like 5.875 in Edmonton.
I was going to say
like
it was
6
5.5 or 6.
Yeah, he signed for a lot of money in Edmonton. Toronto was in cap hell back then, and they didn't want to re-sign him for that money. And instead of trading them, because we were a good team and he was our first line left winger, he's making $5.5 million in Edmonton right now, which is a bit too rich for the Toronto Blood at that time, which is fair. It was. He goes to Edmonton because Toronto doesn't trade him because we actually had a good team. We thought we could make a deep playoff run, and he was our first line left winger, kind of like a Matthew Nyes role, but a bit less skilled, I guess, and a bit smaller, but
and a much better forechecker the way Matthew Nyes has been playing.
Yes, very much so. God, I love Zach Hyman. Anyway,
prime Zach Hyman on the Leafs. Oh my God, my favorite player.
I was gonna say he was awesome. Yeah. Love Zach Hyman. Anyway, we have a lot of players on this team who aren't as good as Zach Hyman ever was, but in a similar position where it's like, okay, we can get some value for him, or we're just going to let them walk because we don't want to re-sign them. Bobby McMahon's value, I would say, has definitely been higher before because I think he is a pure rental. I saw a report saying he wants 5x5 in free agency this year. No shot. And that has nothing to do with his skill. That has everything to do with his age. He's 29 years old. Mm-hmm. There's no way that he's going to get 5 years for $5 million, which means a team's going to have to pay him $5 million when he's 35 years old, when his best asset is his speed.
I'm actually going to have to disagree with you there. I think a team will absolutely pay $5.5 million.
So I think a team will pay. I said that wrong. I think a team will pay that. I think that is a massive overpay, and in 3 years' time, they're going to be like, holy crap, that was a bad idea. My whole point about that is the Leafs are in a position this year where they can kind of flip-flop where they were last year and the year before. They can oversell. They can make someone overpay for their assets, which is something we've done with Carlo and with Lawton, giving away 2 first-round picks for players who aren't that great this year.
Leafs, because I think that's a good point, because like you said, he doesn't deserve 5.5. He's just over half a point per game, and now he's getting first line time, and he has been getting like consistent top 6 time. Think about like Jack Campbell. Think about Ilya Mikheyev.
Yeah.
Like guys who like went off from the Leafs were like good for like a season. Ilya Mikheyev was like the third line
Left winger,
not even a center.
Yeah,
third
left
line
winger.
left winger who PK'd sometimes and was quick.
Didn't touch the power play.
Yeah, would never dream of putting him on the power play. He was kind of a meme and outskated McDavid one time on a rush, and it like went kind of viral. He was a quick player. He was solid. He signed in Vancouver for like $5 million.
I think it was 5.5.
$5.5 million. McKayev's a great player. I did like watching him. Not a chance am I giving him $5.5 million. The Leafs, like, inflation for these players is so high because I think they get so much eyes. People actually know who these players are. Like, there's been times where we get guys from the depths of the West where I'm like, who is that guy? I've never heard this guy's name because there's simply not as much traction. On the Leafs, you always know when there's a move, it's like huge rumbling, and it's like our fourth line guy who plays half the games.
It's Dakota Joshua.
Dakota Joshua gets $3.8 million for 7 years on another team, and you're like, why? It's because he plays in Toronto. It's because he plays in a big market. We need to start taking advantage of that, and that's why like McMahon is so important. That's why OEL is so important. That's why like we were disagreeing on this, but
I think you know where you're going with this. Can I be the one to say it?
Yeah.
I don't know if we're on the same path here. Do you know how much the Edmonton Oilers would pay for Joseph Woll?
I was gonna get to that. Yeah.
I think we could get like a first rounder, probably Isaac Howard, who is their top prospect right now. I think we could get a haul for a team like Edmonton, or doesn't even have to be Edmonton. I just said them because that's been like, the goalie's been their thing for years at this point. Even a team like the Flyers, who are flirting with the wild card, who don't really have a number one goalie. Even like the Penguins, they traded for Stuart Skinner, so they're essentially like the Oilers. They're second in the Metro right now. How do you do Pittsburgh second in the Metro? So I think you can get a team who hasn't made the playoffs in a while, or are in a fight to make a playoff, who have some goalie issues, and I think you could trade Joseph Woll or Anthony Stolarz. I think Joseph Woll's his value is a little bit higher because he's been, since coming back from his his break at the beginning of the year, he's been relatively healthy and played relatively well. He had an awful game last night. Oh my God.
Yeah.
But at the same time, people need goalies, and we have 2 supposed to be quality NHL starters.
We have 2 guys that were great in that have proven they can be great in the playoffs. We have 2 guys that aren't ready to be bona fide NHL starters, but 2 guys that have shown that they can play just under half the games per season, maybe just about half the games for a team per season, and sport like a 9-10, around then there. Our save percentage as a team this year has not been good because the team has not been good. It is an .892. That is 13th in the league. The Oilers are at .883.
Oh, that's really
That's
bad.
very bad for a team that is very, very good. Besides the Canadians, no real contenders are that low. The Oilers would overpay for Joseph Woll.
Yeah, they would.
They'd borderline start to pay money for Hildebeest, who I think
I would trade Woll before Hildeby.
I would trade him as well, mostly because of age. And Hildeby has shown he could be a starter. Whatever. Who cares at this point?
Get the kid some time. The fact that they sent Hildeby down before
Silly.
giving Stolarz a conditioning game in the AHL is crazy to me.
Oh, and they said, hey, probably the game that means the most to Leafs fans this
But not
season,
to the actual team.
Not to the actual team, clearly, means the most to Leafs fans because we do want to beat the Vegas Golden Knights. We do want to beat Marner. They say, Stolarz, you haven't played hockey in forever. Go. What?
And then he lets in the first shot.
Yeah.
Because obviously, I mean, the defense bailed, like, hung him out to dry, but
That's also a good point. The last couple of years, our defense has been, honestly, I'll say they have been phenomenal. They
This
have been
chair is
very
loud.
good the last few years. It's been probably our best part of our team in the last few years. People always like to make fun of the Leafs, say they're not good at defense. In the playoffs, the problem has been goal scoring. We've not been able to score goals. Obviously, that Game 7 against Florida, I think that Simon's House League team in 2014 could have put up a better fight. And not to say that your House League team was bad. Like, it's more of a thing against the Leafs than it is a diss against Simon's 2014 House League team. Even the defensive defensemen have not been solid. Carlo, to me, has been a huge disappointment.
Yes.
Like, he has not been.
Yeah.
When we brought him on, I was like, damn, like, that's a top 2, top 3 defenseman on the team. And he's been like, whatever.
Yeah, I think that's a pretty fair way to summarize his Leafs tenure so far. It's just kind of whatever. And, you know, I think this entire year, the mentality of the team has just been like, whatever, we're going to make the playoffs, so who cares if we lose 6-3 against Vegas at home on a Friday night and hockey night in Canada?
Yeah, it's the big-time games where it's like, yeah, every game should count the same, but also certain ones in the regular season, they do mean more.
Of course.
A game against the Montreal
they do.
Canadiens or the Boston Bruins means more than a Tuesday night shooter against Buffalo. I'll give you that. But when it's Daryl Sittler's homecoming night, you have a bunch of fans here for that, hoping to get a win, hoping to scrape some happiness from what has been an abysmal season, and you put up that effort. They tried for the first 3 minutes and then the last 3 minutes. And we've seen it time and time again with this team. They just don't have the effort. I want to know what is being said in that locker room. Like, there's no way they're satisfied. And every time, here's something. You ever see the videos of the belt being given out?
The belt.
The belt.
Oh, the belt.
championship
Yes.
belt.
Yeah, the belt.
I know
yeah.
it's not that important, and obviously a lot gets said off of camera, but it's always like, great game, guys, let's keep it going. No one's ever, like, rousing. If I'm getting that belt, I'm like, that is how we should be playing every single night when it's a game where it's like, wow, that was incredible.
Yeah, which there have been a few of this year.
We were on an 8-0-2 run less than a month ago.
Yeah, that seems like a lifetime ago.
That was there was a time I was like, wow, I was like starting to think like, okay, like who are we going to play in the playoffs? Like I was like, we might not make it, but we would genuinely need a miracle now. And there I was just like, we kind of just need the Atlantic to like stop playing so good. It hasn't
that's
helped
right.
that we are in the most competitive division in hockey. It hasn't helped. But
I think we have to stop using that as an excuse.
that's just my point. It's not an excuse. We could have been bumped up. Like when we were 8-0-2, there were 2 teams that had a 9-game winning streak. Mm-hmm. That is ridiculous. You probably never see that. But at the same point, the Atlantic streaks right now: win 1, lost 1, win 4. Sabres have been on a roll. Canadians win 1, Bruins win 1, Panthers lost 1, Senators win 1. All of them have just been like consistent hockey teams, you know, just faltering that line. Maple Leafs lost 5. 3-5-2 in the last.
Which I very quickly looking at it is tied for the worst losing streak in hockey right now. Only team that also has 5-game losing streak are the St. Louis Blues.
And they have statistically the worst goaltender in hockey right now.
Yeah.
Canada's Olympic starter, ladies and gentlemen.
Oh, well, that's another competition. That's another conversation. So here is my thing that kind of pisses me off the most. We've talked about this ad nauseum before. At least I have. I don't know if Sammy feels the exact same way. This past 2025 Toronto Blue Jays team was the most I've ever cared about a team in my life. It was the most I've invested in a singular season to a team. I was watching like probably a game a series, I'd say. I was pretty consistent with that. I went to a ton of games. It was so much fun. Went to the World Series. We all know what happened after that, but it was still awesome. And they hit a bit of a rough skid in September. They had a big division lead. I think they were up, I want to say 5.5 games at the end of August on the Yankees. And then out of like nowhere, the Yankees get hot, and the Jays, they kind of start faltering a little bit. And heading into the last series against I believe it was the Tampa Bay Rays. They said, hey, in order to keep the division lead and get the bye to the ALDS, we need to sweep Tampa. And they just like, you know what? And they just went out and did it. This went out and could you imagine a team that just looks at each other and says, we're going to go out and do it. And they just do it.
And that's what mentality every single team is supposed to have in the history of sports. And I haven't seen from the Leafs genuinely, and I know this sounds dumb, genuinely since 2016-17. When that team with a young Matthews who was just like, I'm just going to shoot every time I get the puck, Marner and Nylander were just learning, and aging Tyler Bozak, guys who have been on the team forever, a defense that like my left shoe might have been better than, and they went, we're going to make the playoffs. This team has been pathetic for far too long. We are going to make the playoffs, and then put up the best playoff performance I've still seen in this tenure. I don't care that we lost in 6.
6-game series loss.
A 6-game series loss, but like we were playing so up to their talent. Every game, I believe, except one was decided by a 1-goal difference. A couple of them went to overtime. A double OT that we won. Kasperi Kapanen from Brian Boyle. The defender broke his stip. Jim Hewson.
Jesus.
I do genuinely think that was the best effort, because something about the noise of the Toronto media has got to this team so bad. They quoted Marner, an ex-Marner teammate, as saying sometimes he'd believe what trolls on Twitter or the media was saying about him instead of people in the dressing room. You're a professional athlete. Get over it.
Yeah, I'm like...
And it's clearly not just him. It
it's not.
Can't be
It's
just
not.
him, because
It's
it's clearly a mental thing for this team. Otherwise, the team with Marner would have succeeded more. Yes, we ran into the Panthers, whatever. But clearly, throughout this era of Leafs hockey, there has been a mental block with these guys. And I genuinely think they care way too much about what the media is saying and don't care enough about the game itself.
And you can put that on Toronto. You can. And... Matthews comes in first overall pick, generational player. Mitch Marner, he comes in fourth overall pick, generational type player. Nylander comes in, I think he was eighth round pick, 2014, eighth round pick, eighth overall pick, 2014,
like that,
seventh or eighth. He comes in. He was the guy who got me back on the Leafs train. I was out of the Leafs for a few years, and then Willie made his NHL debut, and I was like, I kind of like this guy.
You know what I was like? I was like, you know what? Sure, P.A. Parento can be our leading goal scorer, whatever. That was a bad time for Toronto sports.
Yeah.
Well, I guess the Blue Jays. It's funny, we're doing a bit of a cycle. I'll let you finish, but we're doing a bit of a cycle.
Is it 2015 again?
When the Raptors are fun, the Jays are fun, the Leafs are garbage, and then the Leafs were good for years. Jays were garbage, and Jays were like fun, but Raptors were pretty mid minus the NBA championship, whatever. But now Raptors are fun again. They're going to make the playoffs. Jays are obviously super fun, and then the Leafs are not. They're not
garbage. Fun. Yeah.
I mean, I've said this probably 1,000 times, but I love the Leafs more than any team I will ever love, but I think they're the team I dislike the most in the world.
That is the big thing. Mm-hmm. I think that's the big thing with the media and with the Leaf fans, because like you were just saying, obviously the noise from the fans have gotten to this team on a mental standpoint. And I think a lot of these players, they see how much the fans care about them, but while they might see that, they only really listen to like the dislike. I think if these guys just realized that if they performed really, really well, like, could you imagine if this team won a cup? If this team wins a cup, you could be 32nd in the league for years.
Ever.
And everyone would love you.
If this team won the cup, Calle Yarncroke would be celebrated in Toronto 70 years later like he won it yesterday.
Oh, 100%.
We just gave a standing ovation and a whole ceremony to a guy, yes, single game record of points. Sittler never won a cup.
No.
Sittler never won a cup.
Well, you could say that for a lot of Leaf legends.
Still a hero. Sundin never won a cup. Still a hero. Wendell Clark never won a cup. still a
Doug
hero.
Gilmour, yeah.
Doug Gilmour never won a cup, still a hero. Every time they come into to Toronto, they are celebrated. We love Ty Domi. Ty Domi wasn't even like a superstar.
He wasn't even a hockey player.
He was literally
was
just
a
a
boxer.
tough player who showed that he cared about the team, stuck up for his teammates, and a lot of people will have him as one of their favorite Leafs of all time. And that goes to show you, nobody really... Everyone always gets mad at Leafs fans. Oh, they boo, they throw their jersey on the ice. Because the Leaf fans care so much, and so when they see a Leaf team that isn't caring, then yes, they get upset. I would rather our team be garbage, but I genuinely think we're trying our hardest, than a team that's mid and doesn't show the effort. Like, I've said this time and time again. Think about all the like fan favorites on the Leafs for the last couple of years. Zach Hyman. People throw out Tyler Ennis sometimes. People throw out Matthew Nyes. People throw out Jack Campbell. Other names come to mind, but not right now.
Like Jake Muzzin as well.
Jake Muzzin, Tanev.
Tanev, yeah. big
Guys
time.
who aren't like, those guys have a combined like, what, 10% of the goals scored in their era?
If that.
Maybe. And they are still guys that are so celebrated by this team because they cared, because they try hard. Can you imagine what you would do with the opportunity to play for the Leafs?
Well, see, that's just the thing. Like, you see Scott Lawton talk about, oh my gosh, like, I can't believe I'm a Maple Leaf now. And Max Domi, same thing. Oh my gosh, I'm playing for the same team my dad played for. And obviously, we're not saying that they don't care. But when it comes to the fans being like, I think the perfect, I guess, example you could show is like the Vegas game, where it's like every fan in the city of Toronto is like, this is the biggest game of the year, not even close. We're on a bit of a skid. At that point, we were still kind of like flirting with the wild card.
Yep.
Marner's return, Friday night, Hockey Night in Canada, like, let's go and do it. And then, they just lay an egg. And they're like, well, it's just another game. We'll make the playoffs. And it's that stuff where it's like all the fans are like, no, like, care more. Like, this isn't just another game. This is Marner's return. And like, I cannot believe, oh my God, I cannot believe that Leafs fans were coping with the fact that Marner didn't get a goal. Vegas spanked us.
They decimated us.
And everyone was like, well, at least Marner didn't get a goal. And that's not like a diss on the fans. That's just like I can't believe we have to cope with that.
Because even I was like,
yeah, same.
whatever.
I was too.
Marner didn't do anything.
Too.
Marner had no points. He had
an
one.
assist.
No, he didn't.
Did he not assist on
He
the
had
first
zero.
goal?
He had 0 goals, 0 assists, 1 shot on goal. TSN actually posted a thing. They were like, whose return was more significant, Air Canada, Vince Carter, or Mitch Marner? And they showed the two stat lines.
I saw that. It was like 39
points and like a 39 almost double-double. And then Marner, 1 shot on goal.
Yeah.
But, like, it is funny that, like, that was something that we had to look forward to. In December, like late December, early January, this team was a playoff team again. Then we roll into Vegas. We roll into that West Coast trip. We kill the Canucks. We beat the Avalanche. That's what I thought was the turning point of the season at that point. January 12th, we beat the Avalanche in overtime. We beat probably the team that is going to win the Stanley Cup. I'll say
Colorado.
That. In Colorado, breaking their 17-game home winning streak. Boom, overtime. They go to 17-0-1. Then the very next day we have back-to-back. We get spanked by the Mammoth. After that, season was over.
Yeah.
The Mammoth beat us. Then it was the Knights' loss in overtime. Maybe if we win that Knights game in overtime, it looks a little different. But since then, we have not been the same team. And it's just like the fact that the season progression is the exact same pattern as the game's progression. They try hard for a little bit, they lay off the gas. They try hard for a little bit, they lay off the gas. Why don't you just kind of try hard all the time?
Yeah, I don't know.
The fact that we're in the big 2026, these guys are being paid generational wealth. Obviously, the NHL doesn't make MLB numbers. They're not making $60 million a year to be the 7th best hitter on their team. But they're making generational wealth, and we have to talk about how much effort they're putting in, the fact that they're not trying. This is a team where every kid who grew up playing hockey in the GTHL, and the NYHL, shout out, grew up like dreaming of playing for this team. If you ask any kid who played hockey in this general vicinity what their dream job was, all of them would have said playing for the Toronto Maple Leafs. And this is what guys like Steven Lorentz, Scott Lawton, Mitch Marner at the time, Max Domi, they're in that position. They grew up here or in the area and had that dream, and now they're here, and we don't see it on the ice.
Yeah, I just think that there's just such a disconnect between the fan base and the media. I'm grouping them kind of together as one. The fan base and the media and the organization, where everyone in this camp is, why are we seeing such a lack of effort to the small, like the details of the game, the stuff that like adds up in your favor over an 82-game season? Like, why are we seeing all of these things not being really cared for? And then this side of the camp is saying, well, it was a tough game, but we'll be more attentive on the next go around. And then the next go around comes around, and then they aren't. And that's the same thing. It's like, well, why is this happening? And it's the team being, we have to be better. And then they aren't better. And then it's this camp saying again, well, why is this happening? And it's like, well, we have to be better, and we will be better. And that's been going on for, I think, 7-8 seasons. Mm-hmm. And at this point, it's just like, okay, like this camp is like, we've had enough. We've been pretty damn patient with this core.
We've been about as patient as anyone can get. I mean, the Toronto Maple Leafs have not won a Stanley Cup since 1967. It's not like they're spoiled. Like, people always complain about how much Leafs fans complain. I hate the Dallas Cowboys. I kind of get it. They're supposed to be the best. They're supposed to be the face of the league. The Leafs are supposed to be the face of the league, and they just haven't been for my mom's whole lifetime, basically. They have not been good since most technology that we use now has been around and widely used. And I do hate when people are like, oh, Leafs fans complain too much. We literally have nothing to be happy about.
That is the one thing I cannot stand when people say, it's like, well, you guys treat the team like badly. It's like, have you ever thought that if you had like 7 consecutive first round exits and then get demolished by Florida twice in a row, and then you have to watch that last year's Game 7 in Toronto, like, would you not be a little bit upset?
If I actually think, and maybe it is because I was a kid watching this, but I had so much more fun watching Leafs games when I was a kid. But going to the same point, I don't think it was because I was a kid, because for the Blue Jays, in 2015, I had the most fun ever watching the Blue Jays, and then the playoffs this year rolled around, and I had so much fun watching those games. It was a different kind of fun because I wasn't as stressed as a kid as I am now. But for the Leafs, like, I haven't had like genuine fun watching the team like for more than a stretch of a couple games than like since like probably Matthews' first year.
Keefe's last year was really fun for the regular season for a little bit. That 115-point year, that was a fun,
but
that Tampa series was really fun. But other than that, yeah.
But if you remember that Tampa series, we went up 3-1, we lost Game 5. And then we went to overtime in Game 6.
I'm not saying it wasn't stressful, but I thought it was fun.
It was a fun watch after the game. If we had blown that, we would have been like, that was a useless series to watch. Because this team has been so negative for so long that even like winning our first playoff series in whatever many years it was at the time, in 19 years, was it? Was it that long? No, it was 04?
I think it was 21. No, sorry, you're right, 19.
So in 19 years, winning our first playoff series in 19 years, and we'll wrap this up quick because the camera's running out of battery.
Yeah.
In 19 years, even then I was like, cool. Like I was happy, and obviously I go back to, I'm like, that was a great moment. It lasted like 20 minutes because then we sucked against Florida.
Yeah, and that's putting it lightly. We were sitting back fat and happy on that Florida series.
And then most people were like, at least we got one. Yay, we won one extra game. We got to 5 once, and we got to
7
once. Out of 16. We haven't even gotten halfway one time.
Yeah, no, well, and then people are like, well, the fans are the problem. And it's like, we were over the moon when we beat Tampa. And we were over the moon when we beat Ottawa, because it's like, that's a rarity.
Oh, yeah, and also the lamest excuse I think ever. This team isn't successful because of the fans. We're not on the ice. We're watching. We're going, yay, when they score. If that affects you that much, don't be a professional athlete. Get over it. Death threats aren't cool.
Yeah.
Those aren't cool. But if you can't get over someone saying, I'm really tired of the way so-and-so, I'm really tired of Simon not back-checking, then you are way too soft to be a professional athlete.
I don't really know what else to say. I think we covered basically everything. So I think that's a pretty good spot to leave it. That was a rant and a half. I don't even know how much of that is going to be included in our actual video. But that was a lot of fun. I feel much better having getting that off my chest. All right, but with that is all for now. Once again, thank you all for watching the Six Hockey. We will be back very shortly with some more podcasts and with some more broadcasts for you as well. My name has been Simon Hendricks. It still is. Joined by Sammy Brzezowski. Thank you for watching, and we will see you next time.